Hey everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all feeling well this morning and ready to get moving. Today we're going to do a workout with, you can just grab a set of dumbbells and a fit ball if you have one, not necessary, but a fit ball if you have one. And I think that's it. So a little bit heavier on the dumbbell. We're going to do some bicep curls and some rows with it. So to give you an idea of what to grab. Remember to start with a good warm up before you come into these workouts. Get your heart rate up, get your muscles ready to work. Okay, so go ahead and find all of your stuff. You can press pause and come back. And now if you're ready to move, Tubby has come to say good morning. You say hello. You gonna help me? Okay, so we're gonna start with a one arm row on the bench. So if you have a bench, you can do it off of the side of your coffee table. I talk about a coffee table all the time because it works really great for these types of things. Or even off the side of your bed will work fine. So you want to put your arm and your knee down on that bench or bed. And the goal is to have a flat back. So my arm is directly below my shoulder. I've got a flat back, thinking about keeping a teacup nice and stable on my back. I've grabbed my weight in one hand and I'm going to pull it towards my armpit. So this is a one arm row. I'm driving my elbow towards the ceiling and I'm stopping when I get to my armpit here. So I'm not going to pull it up and turn or anything like that. Nice and slow and controlled here. Especially controlling it on the way down so that you don't let that weight control you. You want to control the weight. So we're going to do 10 on one side, and then we'll switch over to the other side. So nice flat back, keep your shoulders level, and pull straight towards your armpit, driving that elbow towards the ceiling. And then at the top, think about giving that shoulder blade a little bit of a squeeze. So this is, I like to do one arm things sometimes because it really makes you focus. It requires your muscles to work a little bit harder than when they're working in synergy, when they're working at the same time, because they can help each other out a little bit. But when you think about things in our normal everyday lives, we generally do things one-handed, not completely symmetrical on both sides. Okay, good. You can just leave that on your bench or coffee table, whatever you need, or whatever you're using. Okay, next we're gonna do a side lunge. So the easiest way to do this in really good form is to do it at your kitchen sink. You can also do it, with a really good sturdy railing. But the best way to do this with really good form, I think, is at your kitchen sink because you can hang on and sit back a little bit. So when you step, I want you to step up to the side. We're going to start with a small because I want you to start that first and make sure that feels good. So I'm stepping out to the side, bend that knee, this knee stays straight. So I'm stepping out, I'm sitting my hips back, like I'm going to sit down into a chair behind me on one side. Now, when you're ready to start doing a little bit more range of motion, you might want to take a little bit larger step, and we're going to sit back. So that's where the sink comes in handy, because I don't want you to step and then lean forward, because I don't want to put any shear force through your knee. So we're sitting back. Big step, sit back. I always have my hands out in front of me sort of as a counterbalance here, but you can imagine hanging on to something, sitting back, and that's okay to use that counterbalance there, to use something to help you sit back. I'd rather have you use something than end up injuring yourself. Now, if you do have any pain with this, stop and go back to the smaller range of motion. So big side step if you're able to. If this is too much, you can also just do some squats. You can do some squats hanging on to that sink and sitting back. That's another good option to substitute for this one if this one is too much. We're going to do 10 on each side. I don't know how many we've done total. We'll do one more on each side. Okay, good. Next, we're going to grab that same set of dumbbells, or you can grab a different one depending on what you have. We're going to do some bicep curls. So whatever you feel, remember to bend your knees when you pick up your dumbbells. So the same thing is we're going to alternate these bicep curls. So we're going to do them sort of one at a time. I'm going to want to do them in a tandem stance. Nice and slowly. Make one arm work all the way. Keeping your shoulders down away from your ears. Standing nice and tall. Now, if you find yourself doing this, to lift that weight, grab a smaller set. Also, this is a little bit more difficult doing them alternating. So if that's too much for you, just do them at the same time. Nice and slowly. Remember to keep breathing. Trying to hold that tandem stance. If the tandem stance is too much for you, just stagger it out to the side a little bit. Give yourself a little bit wider base of support. You can switch kind of throughout, or you can hold one side the entire time and then switch the next time. Keep breathing. Let's do 2 more on each side. Nice and slowly, both directions. Everything is staying stable except those arms. All right, good. Now remember, be careful when you set those down, bend your knees. Okay, now we're going to lower to the floor and do some mountain climbers. So, actually, I'm going to show you on this bench first. This is the easier way to start this. If you know that you can do mountain climbers, you can go ahead and start doing them on the floor. But just like push-ups and planks that we've talked about, using an elevated surface to start is a great way to do this. So, you want your shoulders directly over your hands. You're going to start in a plank and then drive your knee up towards your nose. Now you're obviously not going to hit your nose, but that's the direction you want to think about driving your knees. So do them on the bench. If that feels really challenging, stay there. I'm going to show you on the floor. So in a plank, driving those knees up towards your nose. Now this one, it's really important to keep breathing. This is more challenging than it may seem. Keep a nice flat back. This is a good full body exercise. Keep your head in line with your spine. 2 more. All right, good. Now, one good stretch after an exercise like this is to sit back in child's pose and really breathe into that stretch. Okay, now we're going to stand back up and do a balance exercise. I'm going to do some airplane tip overs. So I'm going to bring that up just a little. So we're going to stand on one foot. Importantly, make sure your workspace is clear when you start to do these. I'm not going to move over into these, but I'm going to move my weights out of the way just in case. I want to have a clear space, a clear floor space when we're doing anything, when we're standing and moving around, but particularly balance, because if you lose your balance and fall into something on the floor, you have to be really careful. So you can put your arms out to the side. We're going to stand on one leg and tip over. So we're just going to go back and forth in this tip over. So you can imagine that you're in an airplane. This is a really good one, again, to do at your kitchen counter, because you can put your hands wide and use that counter for balance if you need to. Now, notice that I'm keeping my head, my torso in line with this leg that's tipping back. So if you only tip back to here, that's okay. I don't want you to lean forward like this. Notice my back is now rounded and it's going to put pressure on my low back. I don't want that. I want to keep your back nice and straight. And really where you should feel this is in this standing leg, your hamstring and your glutes. Tubby's all sorts of helpful this morning, aren't you? Hi. Okay, so we'll do about 10 or 30 seconds or so on one leg. And then we're going to switch legs. So get your balance. Keep everything nice and tall. You want to keep your shoulders down. And tip over. Now start small. Just standing on one leg can be really difficult. So start small. You can start here, just doing small tip overs. Remember, you want to keep your back tall. You're tipping at the hips. You're not tipping here at your back, because as soon as you round your back, you're putting all the pressure here. Nice and tall, tip at the hips. Tubby. Tubby's found something interesting in the carpet. Nice and tall, keeping your head in line with your spine. Now remember, if you're feeling this in your low back, reset. Keep that back nice and tall. Don't tip here, tip here. And then also, if you need more, you can tip even further. But like I said, do this somewhere where you can hang on. If you're going to do it over, like over your bed or something like that, that's another good place, because then you're not out in the middle of the floor where it's kind of, it's harder for your proprioception to sort of deal with. All right, good. I'm really feeling that in my hamstring and my glutes. So that's it for today. Oh no, we have one more. Side abs. So I'm going to have you use a ball if you have it. If you don't, you can do this sitting on the floor or on the side of a chair or something. So what I'm going to have you do, if you do have a ball, it's easiest to do this up against a wall. So I'm going to have you turn. I'll turn towards you to begin with. I put my feet sideways like this. So my bottom foot in front, my top foot in back. Put those against a wall, because then you can really get that stabilization from the wall. I'm over on my hip here. I'm going to cross my arms here because that's the easier way to start. You can also be here. Either way, this is a little bit more challenging, so maybe start here. And then I'm going to come up and bring my shoulders straight towards the wall. So I'm on my hip, but I'm bringing my shoulders towards the wall. So I'm using my obliques here. You're going to find this much easier if you put your feet against a wall. If you're doing this on the floor, just lie down on the floor and on your kind of on your hip, and then crunch up this way. Now, like I've told you with other types of exercises like this, if you sit all the way up, it's going to make it easier. So lean back and just come partially up, because that keeps those abs engaged the whole time. Keep breathing. I'm slipping a little here. All right, now we're going to switch sides. So try to do 10 on one side. Take the time to really get this set up before you go into it. I'm going to turn sides here. So I'm going to be over on my hip. One foot in front, my bottom foot in front, my top foot behind. You want to help me, don't you? Okay. I'm over on my hip. And then I'm going to turn my shoulders towards the wall. So I'm bringing my shoulders up towards the wall, really engaging my obliques right here. So your side abdominal muscles. And if you've got a cute little doggy here waiting for you, it's easy to keep coming up and down towards him, huh? He's waiting for his long walk. 9 and 10. Good. So like I said, I'm going to show you quick. If you don't have a ball, you can be on the floor kind of with your knees bent. Actually, on your back is a little easier, but just bend your knees and just crunch up towards your hips on your side. And if all of that is too much, just do regular ab leans off the ball or off the chair, depending on if that's just too difficult to try to get into position. All right, thank you, everybody. Tubby says thank you and have a good day, and we'll see you next time.